I'm Courtney Otten.
And I'm Emily Bruckner.
And this is the Hot Healed Girl podcast. Woohoo!
Yay!
It's funny because we talked about doing a podcast together probably like 6 months ago and then never talked about it again until we did a live. And then on the live talked about it like it was a whole plan.
I mean, in my head, it was a plan. I was just so busy.
You got
like
married.
In between. Yeah. Life was insane in those 6 months. So, like, literally anything that anybody talked to me about regarding business, I'm like, yes, talk to me in May.
I can imagine. Like I said, you got married and you planned that so quickly.
Yeah, in 6 months, honestly. It was a trip.
God bless you.
For sure.
Okay, so whose decision was that? You or Reed? Who wanted to get married fast?
Actually, it was mine because I wanted a spring wedding and I didn't want to wait a year and a half to get married. He wanted a fall wedding. So he was totally fine with like waiting a year. And I'm like, no, we're having a spring wedding.
No one wanted a Texas summer wedding.
No, it's like, it was already getting kind of warm. But we got the best of both worlds actually, because the wedding day was perfect. It was like 80s and sunny. And then the next day, like into the honeymoon, we got a cool front. So he got his fall weather.
Oh, that's perfect.
So, yeah, it all worked out.
Okay, so that was our first tangent. Who's excited about that? But a little about us, because in case you don't know us, don't follow us, find us by random. I am Courtney Otten. I'm an integrative health practitioner, level 1 and 2, mastering blood chemistry with Emily Morrow, graduate, MBSR level 1 and 2 practitioner. There's probably more, honestly. Oh, primal health coach. I am also a yoga instructor. Lots of stuff. I know. When they ask for the little bio, I'm like, well, how condensed do you want it, right? Do you want to know every fitness thing I've taught, because I've taught like 8? Or do you want, hi, I'm Courtney and I help people heal their guts? Yeah, so.
Well,
Sorry, you're up.
Do you want me to go? Okay. I'm Emily Bruckner, and my list is not as long and as fabulous as Courtney's, but I am a certified transformational nutrition coach with a side in psychology and spirituality of nutrition and a niche in women's hormones. I do not have all of the other certifications that Courtney has, but my goal this summer is to also become blood chemistry certified. So
Honestly, it's so fun.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
I am very
I tell
excited
all my
for
practitioner friends to do it because I'm like, amazing. I also didn't say my niche. I help people with gut health mostly and like chronic illness stuff. Lyme, mold, you name it, we do it.
I feel like we're both kind of self-proclaimed parasite experts.
Oh, not even self-proclaimed. We are parasite experts.
We are parasite experts, but
see,
there's not a certification for that yet.
Like if you see what people send us, we're parasite experts. Sorry.
Truly.
The amount of content I was able to pull together for a parasite course honestly surprised me. And then I was like, wow, I'm a parasite expert. So yeah, you are too. So parasites, should we start there? That's my fave topic.
I mean, yeah, let's just dive right in.
I'm probably going to say everything's my fave
Let people
topic,
know what they're up for.
So
parasites, hormones, poop.
Poop, always. That's like every time I make a lot of playlists for myself on Spotify, and every time I pretend like I haven't made the playlist, I'm like, oh my God, I love this song. And my boyfriend literally laughs at me because every single time I'm like, damn, that's a good song. And he was like, one day it's going to get old, but you're I'm like, no, I'm never going to not realize that I love this song that I put in there. It's the same thing.
I mean, you have to be your biggest hype.
I'm everyone's biggest hype man.
To be. That's why I love you.
So parasites 101. Where do you even start? So who has parasites, right?
I mean, where you want to start is just check if you have a pulse. Honestly,
Dr. Todd, if you have a pulse, you have a parasite. Surprise, we all have parasites. And if you're sitting here and your jaw's on the floor, literally buckle in. You're in for a lot more.
Yeah. You're just getting started. And if you're wondering if you also have parasites, take your finger and do this. If you're not watching this, take your 2 fingers and put it to the side of your neck and feel if your heart is beating, which I hope it is. And if it is, you have a parasite.
Feel if your heart is beating. I get, yeah, if you have a pulse, you have a parasite. So a lot of people, so like, what are the myths around parasites? Like, a lot of people think that they don't have parasites because they haven't traveled to a foreign country.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I hear is people are like, well, I didn't travel out of the country, so there's no way I have
And
them.
they're like, that's a bold-faced lie.
That's probably the biggest myth.
Because that's like the only time people think of it, right? They're like, you go to Mexico, you drink the water, you get a parasite, which happens, I'm sure, plenty. What are the most common ways to get parasites then? So like, if we're debunking this, we got to go into that too. Unwashed produce. Pets. Oh my God, pets is number one. If you have pets,
yeah, I would say for sure, especially if you have them in your house and you let them lick you, which a dog mom here, I
dog mom of 2.
Do, so. Yes, recently dog mom of 2. Our first child together.
That's so cute. Yeah, so pets, I mean, we deworm our pets, right? And like, you know that they still get those parasites back, and when they do, if they're laying on your couches, if they're laying on your beds, because think about it, they wipe their butts places, like, and parasites are coming out.
Yep.
And then, like you said, lick your face. I mean, let's be real. Who's never accidentally had a dog lick them in the mouth? Like, I'm not saying we do it on purpose. I'm not saying I make out with dogs, but like, it happens.
It happens.
They
for
catch
sure.
you off guard.
It happens more often than I'd like to admit.
That's what
honestly.
I'm saying. Like, they catch you off guard.
Yeah.
So that unwashed produce.
Sushi, pork.
Sushi's so common. So, because it's raw fish, and as we know, parasites live and love raw fish. Pork, super common to get parasites in there, and especially if it's not fully cooked, like not very seared. Yeah. Unfiltered water too.
That's one that people don't want to hear.
No one wants to hear unfiltered water. One of my faves is soil.
And coming from a farm kid who barefoot in the soil my entire life, literally anybody that goes outside and walks around. And not to let this scare you from going outside and walking around barefoot, because honestly, it's great for you. And I would not recommend not doing it.
Yeah, you just have to know where you are, right? And make sure you're not stepping near or around like any animal poop, because that is even, I mean, we absorb a lot of stuff through the bottoms of our feet. And especially, like I said, if your animals can give it to you, poop from animals 100% can give it to you. Same thing like cat litter boxes too.
Yep. And even just like doorknobs
surfaces
of like other people that have it, if they don't wash their hands after they go to the bathroom, which is gross, but people do it. They sneeze on it, whatever.
So on that, other humans too. You can get them from like sexual contact with other people who have parasitic infections.
And even a lot of kids, like they have the pinworms and stuff like that. And you know, kids are just spraying their stuff everywhere. So they don't wash anything. They touch whatever.
Spraying their stuff everywhere. I love it.
It just happens. But.
Yeah, so that's like how you can get them. Obviously you can, and that like the unwashed fruits and veggies and the unfiltered water, that's where you think like those foreign countries. But, you know, we're not always going there.
The United States, man, there's unfiltered tap water in almost every single restaurant you go to. I hate to break it to you, but.
I know. I'm always like, if I have my water bottle with me, I have no shame in I bring it into a restaurant with me. Not that bougie.
That's a good idea.
It's just like if I have it with
me. Yeah, that's honestly a good idea.
And so my fave myth that I have to debunk all the time for people is my stool test said I didn't have parasites.
That's a good one.
It's like my GI map or whatever other stool test you took said I didn't have parasites, so I don't have them. And I'm like, well, fun fact about that. I am going to ruin your thoughts, but stool tests are super inaccurate when it comes to detecting parasites. They're going to tell you the bacteria that you like have in your body, in your gut, but that's pretty much what they're the most accurate for. And I'm not saying never do them. I don't run them in my practice personally because I don't think they're really worth the money. But why are they so inaccurate, right? Okay, so biofilms are super common. And biofilms hold parasites. And if you don't know what biofilms are, they're like a sticky gel-like substance that pathogens and other microorganisms like bind to and like stay within biofilms because the body's trying to protect you from taking on like all these pathogens at once. That's my, shortened, condensed version.
She is the expert on this, everyone. So
Biofilms too.
She knows what she's talking about.
And so why else, right? If you're like, why are they so inaccurate? They literally only test for 5 types of parasites. 5.
And there's hundreds.
And one of the main ones that they miss
types.
is flukes. And flukes are so common. Flukes, also known as flatworms, I think.
Yeah, because they're usually rolled up like a leaf, but when you unroll them, they're flat. So
they literally miss flukes.
Almost.
So come on, what else are they
And
missing?
those are and the thing is, parasites aren't just in your gut either. So if you're taking a stool test, it's just coming from your intestines in your gut. So parasites can be everywhere from your thyroid to your brain to your sinuses. So I mean, you might not have parasites in your gut, but you could have them somewhere else.
Yeah. Which is what was so wild. We met at a muscle testing conference for Cellcore. I literally thought I scared the shit out of you. I'm not gonna lie. I aggressively approached Emily because I'm like, you wouldn't think it, but like I'm actually pretty introverted. Like when I go to those things, I force myself to go and talk to people that I don't know because I'm like, you only do these things once.
I know. I force myself to talk to so many people.
Yeah.
But you had messaged me beforehand, and you're like, we should meet up. And I was kind of looking for you, but I didn't
you, but I didn't
see you.
And I was like, where do I know this girl from? So then, of course, I stalked your Instagram again because I was like, is this her? Because like I recognize your face. Like you're staring at someone, you're like, so
yeah.
Then I approach Emily and I'm like, oh my god, I know you from Instagram. And she looks at
what?
I know you didn't mean it. The look on your face, I was like, oh my god, I scared her. Like you were like.
Well, I think it's because I was walking outside and I was like on my phone or something. I think I was in the middle of texting Reed or whatever, and I was just like, whoa, because I was like really thinking about something, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, but no, you were great. You didn't scare me.
I kept the conversation up. I was like, oh my god, I know you. And then I was like, well, I'm gonna keep going. And if she doesn't want to see me, she doesn't have to.
Plus you had already messaged me anyway, so it's not like I was completely off guard. But I mean, look at us now. So
that's why I don't feel bad about it.
Obviously.
That's like the way most of my relationships happen. It's like, were they scared of me at first? Maybe I was a little forward, and then surprise, we're friends.
I mean, I wanted to go to your table and sit with you the next day, but I felt bad deserting the people that were at my table.
Same.
Because we had already been like working together. So
yeah.
But
yeah, because like I liked the people at my table. I saw them at Eco, 2 of them, not all of them, but like they just all were pros at muscle testing, so they didn't exactly want to practice as much as I did.
Yeah, that's how half of my table was, but fortunately they were willing to let me practice on them. So
I know I got off on this tangent, but the whole point was that when we met at the muscle testing conference, like you can muscle test for different types of literally everything: pathogens, parasites, candida, mold, Lyme, you name it. And you put this vial that's like frequency. It's charged to the frequency of whatever the pathogen or whatever it is, and you put it up to certain parts of your body, and then you muscle test. And so like I had so many parasites in my brain. Yeah,
did you?
I had so much shit in my brain. They tested me for Lyme too. I was like, oh my god, no wonder I had brain fog.
I did have parasites in my gut when Dr. Todd muscle tested me. So, hopefully that's cleared now. I'm still like iffy on muscle testing myself because I feel like
it's hard.
Just kind of biased. Yeah. So, but I do feel like a lot of my symptoms that I had are gone.
And that's where I go mostly off of symptoms. I mean, don't get me wrong, I include lots of other things, but like muscle testing other people I think is phenomenal, but when you're muscle testing yourself, like you said, there is a certain bias. Like you literally sit there thinking, I have this probably, and you can interfere.
Yeah, your brain gets in the way.
Yeah, so you're stinking thinking.
No, right.
Dr. J, love them.
They're the best.
So great. So
yeah,
we myth busted parasites. How do you know if you have parasites other than the pulse test? I get it, we all have them, but how can you detect it if GI maps are out of it? Fun for you. Well, one, based on symptoms, right? There's like a million different symptoms for parasites. Like I said,
and a lot of them coincide with symptoms for other things too.
Yes, so. That's why it's like so hard. I mean, there are a couple that, so most GI symptoms could be parasites, but What are the few that like are just parasites and parasites alone? I would say eye floaters.
Yeah. And so many people have those and they don't even realize it.
And get ready to cringe, anal itching. That one?
Yes, or your nose. Like if you're constantly like wanting to pick your nose and scratch your nose, that's a big one too. Yeah, it's the same thing. Like, and that has to do like a lot with, you can have the parasites in your sinuses.
Yeah, in the sinuses. Because people.
And if you ever like, this is gross, but you can get like stringy boogers out, and they literally look like little worms. So if your nose is really itchy and you're getting that out, it's a big symptom.
So other than that, I'd say like night sweats, and night sweats could also be like a co-infection. Iron deficiency.
Also a hormone thing too, because I see that a lot with hormones.
Grinding teeth.
Yeah, that's a big one, especially with kids, but even with adults.
The white spots on the nails for zinc deficiency.
And that's another thing, like all of these that you're mentioning, like the last 3, that was all me. And have since all been resolved.
I used to have white spots on my nails growing up. Like I remember just thinking it was normal. And now they're all gone.
Same. And also insomnia, really bad insomnia, especially over the full moon.
So if any of your symptoms, like I said, GI upset too, if anything gets worse over the full moon, ding, 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 you have parasites.
Yes. So if you're just like can't sleep, cranky, sweaty, grinding your teeth, scratching your butt all over the full moon, then you probably
grinding your teeth, scratching your butt. It's so good, but it's so real. And
just is what it is.
And so why the full moon? This is like one of my fave things too. I've been recently getting into this. Why are parasites more active over the full moon? So melatonin drops in the full moon. Your sleep hormone, that's part of the reason that you'll notice insomnia as a super common parasite symptom, because your melatonin drops and then it plays a role in your immune system. Your immune system's suppressed. Parasites become more active.
And it also has to do with just like the way the moon pulls on like the water fluctuations of your body.
They're primarily made of water. So they feel the gravitational pull.
Just
so they're definitely
pulls
more active.
them out.
Yeah. And they, because they're getting pulled out, then they move to the stomach to lay their eggs. Which is disgusting, but that's why you parasite cleanse during the full moon, so that you can also get the eggs, not just the active ones.
Exactly. That's why we do the full moon challenges.
And also, so during the full moon, serotonin levels rise. So like serotonin's your happy hormone, and parasites feed off of serotonin, which is wild to me. And since they feed off it gives them that energy to communicate with each other, to reproduce. I love this question. Is a full moon cleanse enough for everyone to cleanse parasites? I always say no. Yeah, no. Never.
No.
It's a week long, the full moon cleanse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the advanced one. Like, if you've never done it before, you just do it for 3 days. And that's 100% not enough.
No, even a week isn't enough.
Yeah, even a week is not enough. I mean, it's great.
It's a great step in the right direction.
I suggest it. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I always suggest doing your drainage first before you do any full moon.
That is vital.
Courtney will back me up on this. Yeah, so do your drainage, then do your full moon cleanse, then do more supports, and another full moon cleanse, and even more support, and another full moon cleanse, or just do a protocol. And then use the full moon. I honestly do the protocol.
That's what I suggest to everyone.
And then use the full moon. Yeah, use the full moon kit for maintenance.
Yeah, because they're phenomenal for maintenance, right? In my opinion, that's why they're created. Because if there's someone like us who's like done plenty of parasite cleanses in their life, and you want to maintain, you want to feel good, I say it depends on the individual and your like risk factors. So like if you have animals, blah blah blah. If you walk outside in the in the dirt a lot, but how often you want a full moon cleanse like bases off of that. A couple times a year usually. Yeah.
Honestly, I'd probably do it like 4 to 5 times a year.
I tell everyone anywhere from 2 to 6 times a year, depending on you. So I'm like, if you only did like 1 month of parasite cleansing, maybe your first year you're doing every other month.
And people always ask me too, like, is it common to see parasites for longer than a month? It is so common, guys. I've seen so many people who have gotten them out consecutively, week after week, for up to 9 months. So And it's because they reproduce so quickly. And if you have a lot of different kinds in your body, like you might not just have one kind. You can have flukes, you can have tapeworms, you can have strongyloides, you can have all the things. Many. And so they're just reproducing like crazy. And yeah, you got to keep after them to get them out.
Yeah. I love a full moon cleanse for maintenance, but I always tell everyone protocol first, obviously drainage first. If you have to do at least a month of drainage. If you're not doing a month of drainage, mostly if you're not pooping regularly, but everything else too, you're going to feel worse if you parasite cleanse. That's literally why when people are like, okay, I want a parasite cleanse, where do I start? And I'm like, work with a practitioner or just do drainage first.
Yeah. And I get it. You know, not everybody can afford to do a full protocol. So that's why I say if you can't do the protocol, at least do this month of drainage first. Yeah, because everyone's at like different phases in their life, so I totally understand. Like working with a practitioner does get pricey. That's literally why I created the critter course, the course, so that I'm like, okay, you have so much access to me for such a discounted price, and I give you all the ins and outs of parasites. I'm sure the people in my course are like, okay, I didn't think I would get this much about parasites, but you know, that's what you signed up for. Yes, if they follow you, they should know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I do my Facebook group, too, so they can kind of have access to me. Like, I have the protocols in there, but they don't actually have to pay to work with me.
Yeah, because you literally, I feel like you need, I mean, if you get Cellcore, you've gotten the code from someone, so, like, that person should hopefully give you at least a little bit of access to you, and if not...
I mean, if they're not, then find somebody who will. Because if you have questions, it's important to make sure you're doing everything properly.
And that's why Cellcore literally is only practitioner codes. Because, like, we can decide if we want to give it out. I know plenty of people that only give it out to their one-on-one clients. Totally fine. There's other people like us who will give it out to people selectively if we are able to serve you a little bit. Like, even... just like emails and DMs.
Yeah. I do so many of those, honestly. And people tell me they're like, I've talked to other practitioners, but they like want me to book an entire session with them, or they just give me their code and I never hear from them again.
I think there's got to be an in-between if you're giving someone a code. I don't really think that's responsible to never hear from them again, but it's also not my practice to decide. Yeah.
But, you know, that's why I'm out there. So hopefully the right people that need me find me. And I hear that a lot. They're like, just like, thank you for answering my questions.
Yeah, because Cellcore, it's some really phenomenal products, but they're extremely potent because of the humic and fulvic acids, because of all of the carbon technology. Like, they are crazy potent. So I feel like there needs to be some sort of accountability, and that's literally exactly why they made it for practitioner codes only.
Totally.
What else about parasites? I don't know. I could literally talk 24/7 about them. I'm like, what are we going over in my course right now? I can touch base with that.
Yeah, tell us some details about your course.
Oh my god. So the first full month is drainage because of course. It's like
it's Courtney's course.
Well, it's a 12-week like practitioner-led parasite cleansing course. So the first whole month is literally drainage because I'm not pushing parasites until at least month 2 because you shouldn't be. So it's a lot on like why we're draining what they should be doing for the first month, and then the second month we move on to like why parasites, what we're doing, what's in the products that they're using so that they know what's going on, what to expect, what not to expect, how to support parasites in other organs, where parasites can reside in other organs, why the full moon, and then at the very end it's like maintenance. So like I do say full moon cleanse regularly and like ways to minimize your exposure. That's why I'm like going through all that stuff and I'm like, wow, what am I going over now?
I mean, if I didn't know all I did about parasites, that would have just made me want to take it. So
it was so I was literally writing it up and I'm like, wow, if these people want to learn about parasites, I hope they're coming. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if they don't, they're gonna think it's overwhelming, but that's okay. And that's why I've just gotten on a course kick recently because like I love my one-on-one clients, but I want to try and serve as many people and as best I can because I know that not everyone can truly find the money at this point in their time to work one-on-one with someone. I understand. it's an expense. It's an investment in your health, but like it does cost money. So I'm like,
yeah, I've been brainstorming courses too.
It's so fun.
Just because I do feel like, and also people like the group aspect of it. So if you can, you know, like make friends in your courses, it gives a lot more accountability, and I feel like people are more likely to stick with it.
Yeah, I've been working on a new course this week about drainage. I'm so excited. I just like
I can tell.
I literally talk about it every
If you don't follow her on Instagram, it's drainage and critters and King Coffee, and I love it.
Yeah,
it's
and
awesome.
A lot of reels, but
her reels are amazing.
I like actually laughed at myself making them the other day because I was like, some of this is like low key embarrassing, but then.
I
know.
People
are like, you're funny. I'm like, am I? I'm really glad you find me entertaining because like I laugh, but that doesn't mean that other people laugh.
The one you posted, I think yesterday, I was like, this is amazing. That's amazing.
I actually like was walking around my apartment saying the like real like audio out to my boyfriend. He's like, what are you saying? And I'm like, you know, it's a reel. And he was like, okay. And then he saw it and he was like, okay, now I understand. I was like, yeah, like you're always gonna get it.
It's kind of embarrassing to me when people like actually know in real life. Watch my reels. I'm like,
I like wish I cared more. I like post everything at this point in my life because it's my full-time business. Everything from my Instagram is linked to my Facebook.
Oh, really?
Mine is like 1,200 people that I've known through all my walks of life. And I'm sure I should be more embarrassed than I am that I talk about poop every day.
I mean... Like, way to put yourself out there, though.
It's also my full-time business, so, like, that's why. Because I'm like, if I'm trying to hide part of this, it's not going to work, right? Like, this has to just be me 100% and, like, authentic. And the people that want to find me will. And, like, it's I guess, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are people that are judging me out there. But, again, I don't really care. There are, like, a decent amount of people in my life that'll come to me and be like, oh, my God, I didn't realize that, like, this was that. Or something like that. Or even just people on Facebook that like I don't really know very well. Like I went to high school with them and they'll be like, I'm having all these symptoms like I didn't even realize. And I'm like, that's why I do this.
See, my Facebook is like mostly just family and some friends because I was homeschooled, so I didn't have a big high school of people to friend. But anyway, I don't know. I just don't want my entire family knowing every single thing I'm doing. All day long. So if you guys are listening to this, please don't get offended. I still love you all.
I'm sure they are listening.
I hope they will, but
no, they will.
Yeah.
I just don't get embarrassed anymore. There was a really long period of time. So like I started my Instagram 5 years ago ish, something like that. Like as soon as I graduated college, because I was going through all these health issues and like, well, actually I started as like a Fitstagram, which is so funny. Cause I was a beauty
everyone
blogger. Did. Yeah. I started it because of fitness. I was like, I just want to stay accountable. I'll post a picture every day to just keep myself accountable. And that was what it was. And then I started having all these digestive issues when I graduated college. So then I was like, obviously this is pivoting more into health. And it just, I kept it as like a double life. Like when people would find me from my real life, I would block them. Which is so funny because I was like so embarrassed to talk about my health struggles. And like... 5 years ago me now would look at me and probably cringe, but like I don't care. It took me a while to come to this because there was a point in time when like I was cringing about it and I was like I don't want these people to know my health struggles. I don't want them to know who I really am. And then I realized like as it became my business, I was like so many more people resonate with this than you realize. And like if you're afraid to show it to people, it's not going to be successful.
Yeah. And if you don't share your struggles, then everybody else out there with their struggles is not going to feel comfortable sharing. Yeah. So once you find somebody that's like actually putting themselves out there and sharing everything, they're like, okay, maybe I'm not so weird, you know, like with what I'm going
and
through.
I didn't want like this whole thing was like I didn't want my health struggles to be in vain. Like the whole point I went through this, like I kept telling myself there was a bigger purpose, or like if I even shared one thing and like it resonated with someone, made them feel less alone, like that's great.
Yeah.
But then I realized it resonated with a lot more people than I even realized. Like I wasn't giving myself credit for. And now here we are 5 years later.
Fully immersed in Parasites and
no shame.
All the things.
Literally no shame. I'm like, if I hashtag your shit talking BFF one more time, like.
Love that hashtag, honestly. You could start another podcast if you ever do a solo podcast. Well, you just come up with all the trendy names. I'm just like, that would be a perfect name. If I was going through, like, this one, if I was telling Reed, because he was asking me what the name of the podcast was, and I was like, if I was scrolling through podcasts
and you saw your shit talking BFF
on Apple Podcasts, yes, I would 100%.
Don't tempt me with a good
click
time.
On that. And even ours, like if I saw Hot Healed Girl podcast, what? I would totally be clicking on it.
That's the point. It's supposed to be people like us and people that feel like they're chatting with us as they're on their walks or whatever they're doing in their car.
Yes. Hot girls healing.
We're healed, but we're going to help you heal.
Exactly.
I'm like, I was talking to my mom about this because she's like, you guys get off topic sometimes. And I'm like, that's kind of the point, right? You're supposed to like literally feel like you're with us and we're just chatting about a bunch of stuff. Yes, we're going to like be on topic most of the time. I hope.
I mean, that's what we talked about. That's what mine. That's what my favorite thing to listen to is. It's people just having a fun conversation.
No, I totally agree. I'm like, if it gets stale, they can skip through. Sorry.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like I learn better that way. When there's like nuggets thrown into a conversation type thing.
Have you ever listened to Mind Pump?
Rather than...
That's exactly why. Because they literally are three guys that just mess around the whole time. But like, yes, there's lots of value to it.
Honestly, I don't listen to a lot of, I guess, like fitness podcasts, you would say, but I love them.
I don't listen to them anymore. I used to like probably 2 or 3 years ago, but it's just because they like took up all the data on my phone because they release a podcast a day.
They do. Yeah. I am still subscribed to them, but I don't listen to every single podcast. I'll just scroll through, and if something catches my eye, then I'll listen to it.
I like loved it.
I do like pretty much any podcast that Zelda Stefano
He's
goes
so
on.
Good. I love him so much.
The ones he does with Max Lugavir, they're my favorite.
Yeah, I love Max.
He's my health crush.
He?
And
he's
Reed knows,
so
it's
fine.
I know.
Yeah, he's like, well, because he's like younger. You think about all these.
He just turned 40.
No way. He seems so much younger than that.
I know. I was surprised. Yeah.
I feel like I thought he was in his 30s, but that was again also like probably 3 years ago. But he was.
He was in his 30s. I think up until a couple weeks ago, he was in his 30s.
Wow. I'm surprised he's 40.
Yeah.
I like Ben Greenfield too. I saw him speak at PaleoFX like, I guess it was probably 2019 because it definitely wasn't 2020, obviously.
Yeah, they didn't do it in 2020.
No, I was supposed to go and
did you go to the one in Austin?
It was in 2019 because then I bought my ticket for 2020 and then obviously I didn't do it. They did it online. They said I could either keep it for the next year or do the online, and I kept it for the next year, and they didn't do it in 2021, and then I kept it for the next year, and then they didn't tell me it was happening in 2022 until the day of.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe I should have like looked
I mean,
their website, but also I feel like you would tell me that like it was coming.
They were talking about it on their
and
Instagram, I think,
emails.
a couple weeks before that. I think it was really last minute because like the city wasn't giving them the go ahead to do it without the masks and this and that, because I did see something about how they had lost a lot of money.
Yeah. There's no way they didn't.
Like trying to plan it, and they like weren't sure if it could go ahead and this and that.
Yeah.
So
I like expected an email at some point to just be like, PaleoFX is happening, and then I got an email the day before and it was like, your ticket for PaleoFX tomorrow, and I was like, you think I'm gonna fly to Austin tomorrow? They kept my money, and I'm happy for them that they're able to use it for something.
In 2020 I actually did really want to go.
We could have met.
And then 2020, yeah,
I guess we already met. Was it 2020 or 2021?
Wait, 2021,
like almost a year ago. Well, more than a year ago.
A little over a year ago.
Yeah, because that was when I found out I had Lyme.
Yeah, for some reason, I always felt like you had known for a lot longer than that, because you were talking about it and then you're 7.
Like... You would think. My health journey's been wild. I've used myself as an experiment for a lot of things, and then like had mold, moved out of my apartment, was in a new apartment, was still struggling with brain fog and stuff. And I was like, what's going on? Like, this is not supposed to happen. I should not feel this fatigued. I should not feel this brain foggy. Couldn't decide if it was just because we were in quarantine and like, wasn't doing as much, but I was pretty sure that wasn't it. So then I became a Cellcore practitioner, and I bought a ticket to the muscle testing conference, and I was like, they're just going to tell me what's wrong with me. That's it. My parents kind of thought I was crazy. They were like, what do you mean? And I'm like, this is literally me investing in my health. They're like, it's a business expense. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I just need to know what's wrong with me. Mm-hmm. And so I did it, and I had people muscle test me, and no joke, the girl next to me puts the Borrelia Lyme vial just towards me for me to hand, and I literally jolted backwards. And so I was like, oh shit. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, your body reacted really badly to that. And I was like, you're not joking. And then same for all the co-infections. And so I was like, wow, that's wild.
That's a good story to tell people when they ask, like, does muscle testing actually work? Because Reed, he's like super supportive all the time, and he's like, yeah, I'll take you to the muscle testing conference, like I'll support you, but I still think it's a little bit crazy. So that weekend, when we got the vials and all that stuff, I was like, well, let me muscle test you. And so, I'm trying to do it with his arm, and he's like doing the typical guy
oh my
thing.
God,
like,
yeah,
push me down.
Like, that's not...
Yeah, so I'm like, lay down, I'm gonna do it on your leg. And he always has problems with his knee. Like, his knee would always hurt him, like, really, really bad. So I'm like, I'm going to try the glyphosate, because I wonder if it's the glyphosate connection with the collagen. And I kid you not, like, he's not looking at me, so he doesn't know if I pick something up, like, what I'm doing. I just touched the glyphosate. I had my hand on his, like, this hand on his leg, and I just touched the glyphosate vial with my other hand. And he's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your hand? You're hurting me.
Oh my gosh.
And I bring it a little bit closer, and he's like, no, stop. You're hurting me. What are you doing? And so I didn't even have to, like, even start muscle testing him at all. And then, funny enough, the ISBAB canceled it out. So
how's his knee doing?
He's been on that for a while. His knee's doing a lot better now. Yeah, he doesn't complain about it as much anymore.
Yeah, it was truly mind-blowing. Yeah, because if you've never had someone muscle test you, like, in person, like, I was surprised how physically my body reacted when they lifted some of those vials to me. Again, I was in the depths of it still at the time. Like, I was on phase 1 of Cellcore, because I told myself before I went to the muscle testing conference, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the comprehensive. Like, it's not going to hurt me. It's totally going to detox stuff from my body. And if it happens to be on par with some of the symptoms that I have, like, cool.
Yeah.
And then literally jumped back. And then even more so, this is a fun one. So I had Dr. Nick, one of the Cellcore docs, muscle test me. So I was like, can you tell me when I got Lyme? Because I grew up in northern New Jersey. We were always around ticks. Like, it was super common. My dog literally had ticks like once a week in the summer. And so he muscle tests me, and he goes, yeah, you were like 7 years old. And I'm like, okay. So my parents are moving out of my childhood home. This was a couple of months ago. They live in Florida now. And I was super sick at like 7 years old. I did a bunch of blood tests. They told me I had an autoimmune liver disease. That was that. And so my mom finds some of the old blood work. She kept everything, and I understand. She finds some of the old blood work and what's in it, but they tested me via blood for Borrelia. And if you know anything about blood work, when you test for Lyme, it doesn't show up unless it's like literally 4 to 6 weeks after. Mine was positive. And this doctor, I don't know why they never showed us. I don't know if the pages got stuck together or something. Wish I knew. But at 7 years old, I tested positive for Borrelia, and we never knew until I was 25. And Dr. Nick muscle tested me and told me I was 7. My mom was blown. Like, how did he, like, I get it. Muscle testing is super, super accurate, clearly, if you're good at it. But, like, the fact that he was able to pinpoint it pretty much, like, I was 7 in 8 months. He told me I was 7.
That's crazy.
That blows my mind. I tell everyone that story.
I know. Some of those people, like, that's my goal, is to one day be
that accurate.
And
that was why I asked him, because I was like,
muscle testing.
He's like really good at muscle testing, so he'll give me like a relatively accurate reading. Damn. And so then I told him
relatively, like, so accurate.
So I told him at the eco conference, and he goes, yeah, I guess because I only tested by years, I was off a little. And I'm like, I'm not saying you were off. I'm saying that you were incredibly accurate.
That's
because, like, typically there's no other,
so funny.
like, how else could we have proven that I got it when I was 7 years old, except for the fact that it literally tested in my blood, which I tell people all the time, like, if your doctor says they want to run that, it's not really worth it. Unless it, like, is covered for by your insurance, you don't have to pay anything for it. But, like, it's literally, they say it has to be 6 weeks after you were bit by a tick, a mosquito, whatever had that. And, like, how often is it that recent, you know?
Unless you, like, literally see
the bullseye,
the tick bite and the rash, and then go get a test. But yeah, otherwise it's not. And then, or people will tell me, you know, like, they're like, I have all the symptoms of Lyme, but my test doesn't show it, so my doctor says I don't have it.
That hurts my soul. That was a potential client that came to me the other day. We're on a breakthrough call, and she's telling me she has like flu-like symptoms. She gets the fevers and the chills. She has joint pains. She has so much fatigue and brain fog. And I'm like, honey, you have Lyme. Like, everything was like textbook, all of the top 5 Lyme symptoms. And she's like, they tested me for it and they said I don't have it. And I'm like, well, when did you start feeling this way? And she's like, probably almost 2 years ago now. And I'm like, okay, well, when did they test you? And she's like, probably like 3 months ago. And I'm like, it doesn't show up often if it's not recent. Yeah. And she's like, okay, well, that makes so much sense.
It's sad, honestly. That's why we do what we do.
Literally. Because there are so many people that are like, I have all this stuff. I have these incredible joint aches and stuff. And like, I'm 25. That shouldn't be it possible, right? And I'm like, no, there's toxins in you. Like Reed's knee.
Yeah, that one was still crazy. Like, he's 100% a full believer after that. But yeah, that one, I mean, even for me, that was crazy because I had just started muscle testing, obviously. So to see that strong of a reaction.
That was the same, like, I believe Dr. Nick. I totally was like, yeah, I got it when I was 7. And then I saw the proof on paper and I was like, dang, I got it when I was 7.
I know.
Like, I literally didn't doubt it even a little bit. That was just the funny part about it. But we got the proof on paper.
It's a good thing to have to share with people that are a little bit.
That's why I tell everyone that story. I'm like,
iffy.
You can't deny that.
It's literally
I know. I'm
doctor
like, you cannot
papers.
Even say
Is there?
I have the labs in my desk right here. I keep them. My mom gave them to me because they moved and she was like, I know you're gonna want this and you're gonna want to read your blood labs. And I'm like, you do know I want to read all my old blood labs. You're right.
Of course.
Stack of this thick.
I'm so excited to
Oh my god, it's so good.
Chemistry.
It's so good. It's also like a lot. She puts so much information into it that, like, at one point I'm like, by the end of the night, it's so good. But you're gonna love it. I can't wait for you to take it. And then you're gonna literally get your labs done, and you're gonna make everyone in your family get their labs done.
I hate needles.
Well, then you only get them done once.
I think that's probably why I've been putting it off so long, is because, like, now I won't have an excuse to hate needles.
You'll have to do it.
But we'll see.
For the cause.
I know.
It's for the better. You're gonna be excited about it.
I know. I'll be excited once it's over. It's one of those things that's like, new things stress me out.
Get excited.
Especially when they involve needles.
You don't have to get your labs done. You're just going to want to.
I do have to get my labs done.
Then you have to.
If I'm going to make other people do it, I have to do it myself.
I don't disagree. I really should get my labs done soon, too. I'm just putting it off for no reason.
I mean, my reason is that I don't like needles.
You're going to have to get over it.
That's what everyone tells me about everything. They're like, just get over it.
You'll be fine. Just look in the other direction. I'm sure that's what you do anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, we're almost to the 1 hour mark.
Do you want to end any specific way?
Sometimes I feel like specific endings are cheesy, but
like you end with a question every time. I don't have a good question. The only thing that would be on brand for us would be like something about being hot and healed, but like I don't
have a hot healed day, everyone. Okay, well that's shot down. So
you know what I mean. Like when people like ask questions at the end, they're like, "What are you doing today for your best self?" But like, I don't want to ask you that. I too don't want to answer that. I'm like my king coffee that the ice is already melted.
That's what I was about to say.
And my salty marg.
That's gonna be our answer every time.
Salty marg.
It's just kind of some kind of beverage.
Or that I'm gonna sit in the sun.
Electrolytes or king. Yeah.
I had a
Also
client
same.
drinking a salty marg while on a call. My heart has never been happier. She like pulled it up and I'm like, is that lemonade? And she's like, it's a salty marg. And I'm like, wow, you know the way to my heart. That's fine. Your next session's free on me, on salty margs. Like, too excited.
That's great. Tune into the next one to hear all of the rest of the things that we will have to say by
We'll
then.
probably be more organized by then, I think. Maybe we'll do like outlines.
Yes, I think our next future episodes will have outlines.
Hey, I sent you a whole list
They
of
will
topics,
have...
so like that was a part of organization that happened, but not all of it.
I mean, I feel like this is good for the first
Yeah, the
episode.
first one can just be a lot.
Introduction, what you can expect. But yeah, the next episodes will have topics and questions and answers and research. We clearly did not have a topic for today other than introducing you to
what we're all about. That's okay.
Catch you all in the next one where we are more organized.
It's fine.